It's week 22 of the golfing calendar. And now, a couple of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young hopefuls who jumped off the plane at LAX with a dream in a cardigan. This is Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen, the most listened to Australian golf podcast. Now, talk birdie to me.
So,
far away, Mark.
The Colonial is being torn up at this moment.
I heard, the day after the tournament finished.
And Gil Hans is doing it. So, there's three big courses in my world.
Mm-hmm.
So, one's the Colonial because I love the tournament. I've went there and played. I know you've played there a lot as well. Royal Sydney's another one. I think I played 3 Australian Opens at Royal Sydney, and it's a big tournament, big venue, and a big job because I think Royal Sydney's possibly the best club in Australia. Not the best course in Australia, but the best club in Australia. And the other one is Huntingdale, home of 30 Australian Masters events, is being ripped up completely. Now, I'm looking at you. You seem to have your head screwed on pretty well to me, Nick.
Most of the time.
I think it is. Would you have a crack at golf course architecture?
Would I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I think as a professional golfer who's played all around the world, seen so many different golf courses, I'd love to have a crack. I know what a good hole looks and feels like. Now, the technical side of all that, where you've got to think of drainage and the agronomy, the grasses, where's the sun setting, that'd take a lot of learning, obviously, but that's where you partner up. And if you notice with, I think, a lot of these architecture groups now, there's usually 2 or 3 people in it. Core Crenshaw, Ogilvy Cocking Mead, who's Clates with now, DeVry Ponce. Is Gil Hans got a partner?
Yeah, he does. I've forgotten his name already, but it doesn't matter. Okay. It's all Gil.
Yeah, but that's where I think you almost need a team. In a way, because then you get all the ideas flushed out as you go along, and it would be fun to do, but I've never done one.
Because the 3 courses, if you look at them now, Huntingdale, pedestrian these days, Royal Sydney, pedestrian always was, Colonial, when I got there, I was a little disappointed, to tell you the truth, with the Colonial. I loved it. I loved being there because of the history on the walls and the Ben Hogan statue at the front. And, you go into the clubhouse and there's just these beautiful, gorgeous old pictures of all these superstars that you never heard of.
You got the Hogan room as well.
That's right. So my question to you, on all 3 courses, do you try to make them top 20 courses in the world? Because Royal Sydney, you're on that sandy bit of land in Sydney, and there's some really nice, duney type land. Huntingdale could be. And then you got the Colonial, which is just a clay-based heavy soil sort of joint. Yep. What do you try to do with them?
Well, you just try to get the most out of the land available. I mean, Colonial, that's a flat piece of, you've been there, you've played, I played there. I love the golf course anyway because it's short, quirky, you got to shape the ball, you got to work it. If you did notice, the winning score was 8 under par in the tournament, and we just had the PGA at Oak Hill and the winning score was 9 under.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible.
The reason it was so tough at Colonial this year, it was very rare. They got the greens rock hard and firm, and they were pretty baked by the end of it and a bit crusty, so it's pretty hard to make putts. But it just goes to show, if you get firm greens, you don't need a lot of rough because there's not much at Colonial.
Small greens.
And there is hazards and trouble to hint to, as Emilio Grillo found on the last hole. Did you see his ball going down the aqueduct? It reminded me a bit of John Vandervelde in the British Open. Craig Parry's comment.
Silly fascination with what was going on.
Do you remember the Paz's comment?
Yeah, if you wait a couple of hours, the tide will go out and you might be able to hit it.
But his ball was getting further and further away from the green, unfortunately. But Colonial is a slightly different story. I'm not sure what they're going to do to that golf course. I mean, probably keep the same routing, I'd imagine.
I heard Finchy talk about it. So they're going to keep the same routing and they're just going to update it. They're just going to modernise it.
It needs it. It does need it, Royal Sydney-wise, I hear they're changing the routing, and that's taken a long process to get that through the council and all that from what I know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I played there last year at the Royal Sydney Cup, and I couldn't remember the golf course being that damn tough. I mean, it beat the crap out of me, that those couple of days that I played there. Now, played Aussie Opens like you have there. My first one was in '99 when Aaron Baddeley won.
Yeah,
I always, like to say I was the leading pro that year. Never won an Aussie Open, but I was the leading pro.
Were you lead with Monty?
No, it was Shark.
With the Shark.
Yeah, we were tied second. I was ready to go into a playoff for the winner's check, but he didn't want it.
When was Monty second there? He was second there to somebody.
He was in the. He might have been in the final group. He was playing. I think he was playing with Baddeley in the final group that year.
Yeah, there you go.
That was. Yeah, we've spoken about your experience with Monty, so we won't go there.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
But Royal Sydney, you can do some really good things around there. As you said, that rolling sort of, hill. Well, not hills, but it does subtly move around on that piece of property. Very landlocked again, obviously, with all the housing around it. And the third one was Huntingdale. Again, back in the day, I never played in the 80s and 90s when I was watching it on television. I only really started playing there from 98, 99 onwards. And they'd sort of already changed it by then.
It's a disaster. So I was a member there for 30 years.
Yeah, you know it well.
I know the place well. It was never a classical golf course, but it had a lot of soul before they made all the changes. Then they made the changes and they made the fatal mistake of just making the greens enormous. The greens became so big, even though there were elephants and swales and hollows and all those kind of stuff all the way through. It's like if you're on it, you could two-putt from anywhere. And when you make the greens so big, I mean, it became a very easy golf course for people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, and one of the weirdest changes they've made, it might have been the fifth, they turned it into a par 3. It was a great little short par 4 up into the corner, a little uphill dogleg right.
Yep.
Wonderful little hole, and all of a sudden they get rid of it and make this par 3, which was a bit of an abomination, I think.
It was a rotten hole.
But you're right about the greens. I mean, 18 has got a bit Mickey Mouse-ish for a while.
Silly.
And,
16.
They've got a magnificent clubhouse there now, they'll say that.
Yes, and I can tell you this. I was there when Michael Cocking delivered his presentation to the members. It's going to be really good. I mean, Michael Cocking, I think he's a star.
He knows his stuff.
He's a star. Yeah. So I think he's probably top 5, and I think all the jobs he's getting now, Medina and Shady Oaks and this new one in Georgia, 36 holes it's going to be. He's a superstar of golf course architecture.
Well, I was impressed.
Jeff Ogilvy.
We had a hit last week on the Furrows, the 9-hole par 3 course at Kingston Heath.
Yes.
Very impressed with that, by the way.
That
was a lot of fun.
It's perfect little golf course. But I think Huntingdale is going to be a big win from what I've seen and what his plans are. I mean, in his words, they're just going to Kingston Heath the place.
Yep.
They're going to take a lot of trees out. Kingston Heath's on 125 acres and Huntingdale's actually on 120. You'd never believe that.
No.
But that is true. It's just from the trees.
Yep.
And where they are and land they don't use.
The perspective you get. Yeah, and the other course I'm excited to see what they do too is I'm a member at the National, and they've got 3 wonderful courses down at Cape Schenk, and now they're going to redo Long Island. And that, in a way, if they do that right, and I'm sure they will, I've seen some of the plans, that could be the pick of the bunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be magnificent.
I used to always say, if Long Island had a South Oakley address, now, if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with Melbourne, South Oakley is kind of right in the middle of the sandbelt. But if Long Island had a South Oakley or a Mentone or a Blackrock address, then it would be thought of much, much more high than it does at the moment. And I mean, is it OCM doing that one too?
They are.
Yeah, so if they get that one right, that is another one. They can just change the way you appear at a golf course.
Yeah, it's only half an hour from the city down the East Link or whatever it is.
Yeah, that is right. What did they do to Cottesloe? I mean, I remember, was it Cottesloe or no, there's another golf course there where they took all the trees down.
In WA, you got me.
Coastal.
Coastal?
It's a coastal one.
Sun City?
No.
That was Clates. That's further north.
No, not Sun City. Maybe it was, I don't know. Could have been
Cottesloe. You're probably
Might have been Cottesloe.
I don't know.
Might have been Cottesloe.
Too hilly for me, that place. It was a hard walk.
Was it?
Kikuyu grass and hilly, that's never a good combination.
I want to see you do some golf course design.
All right.
You want to talk about, Grillo? Schenk?
Well, yeah, Schenk, even Grillo.
Were they calling him
the other
Schenk?
guy? Hall. As well. He was
Harry Hall.
He led the whole way and then
birdied the first 2 as well. Birdied 1 and 2.
Yep.
You'd think that would be it.
Yeah.
Played all these golf at UNLV and wears that hat.
He's got the Hogan hat on.
What'd you make of the Hogan hat?
Yeah, it looks good on some people. I'm not sure it looked great on him.
Yeah.
It just didn't really...
That didn't work.
Didn't work for him, I don't think. But he hung in there.
He's got no hair and ears out, and his ears were red raw by the end of the week. And
he's English.
I mean, it's just the wrong hat for the guy.
But it was a great week for him. I mean, he led, what did he shoot, 8 under first day or 7 under, and blitzed him and led all the way, and then unfortunately didn't go wide to wire. I think they made the point on the commentary. Ian Baker Finch is the only guy to go wide to wire there.
128 the first 2 rounds, 145 in the last 2. 17-shot difference. Now, because the course got harder and harder during the week, we understand that.
Yep.
But a 17-shot difference, I mean, that was kind of enormous.
It was quite big. And the guy going into the tournament, I mean, okay, let's just finish with who won. It was Emiliano Grillo. He won in a playoff over Adam Schenk. We call him Schenk. They call him Schenk.
Did you see all the kicks he got in the playoff? My God.
I didn't see. I was driving my daughter to school and I was listening to it on the radio that you told me to, the PGA Tour Live app.
He hit in the trees down the right-hand side on 18, kicked out in the fairway, hit it onto the green, got a big kick left onto 18. Then on the 16th,
yes,
he landed 6 inches over the right-hand traps and took the biggest kick to the left you've ever seen, then ran down the slope to 4.5 feet and hold the putt for birdie.
I saw that because I had just got home and I turned the TV on and I saw Adam Schenk over the back of that green. I'm thinking, how did he end up there? Caddy must have given him the wrong club. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what a magnificent chip that was. Just down the hill. I might even do my masterclass on that chip shot a little later, how to chip off downhill lies out of thick rough, because I see players, or a lot of amateurs, have the wrong technique. He just played it beautifully.
I want to see that too. Actually, I want to know how to play that shot because the way he played it was very, very good. I think the wind changed, to tell you the truth.
Is that what it was?
I reckon it did because, when you saw
20
Grillo,
metres past the pin.
When you saw Grillo blocked it by a mile. I mean, I think it went 8 steps to the right with a 9-iron. Right. So that's a big block, and that only just got over. And as well as anybody, you block a shot, it usually it's half a club. So I think the wind changed.
The wind switched. Okay.
But that's why Schenk went straight over the back.
All the talk of the town going into it was Michael Block. He talked about a big block like Grillo. How was that?
The poor bug. I fell for him.
I did too. Yeah, it was a tough. He was actually played with Min Woo Lee the first 2 days, and I thought going in, I think he's going to be worn out for one because he's probably not used to all that attention for so long and so much of it. The course did suit him, I thought, and he got off to an average start, pegged it back. We ended up shooting 81 the first day, finishing with like 3 doubles in the last 4 holes. It was horrible, and he ended up finishing last through 2 days. So it was a tough one for him.
I was only in big tournaments in Australia on the last day, maybe a handful of times, and a couple of times when thought I was half a chance. And the next day, I was so buggered because it was a long, long week. What was it like for you? I mean, because, you contended in majors, top 10s in majors. How long did it take for you to recover physically, mentally, anything else, or were you okay in the end? Because
I was okay. I mean, I always made sure I took the next day off, like just get away from the game, just refresh, do all that. Weirdly, some of my best results in the States came the week after majors. Like I did the one where I did well at Winged Foot. The following week, I finished second, the Booz Allen in Washington.
Great name, that one.
It is.
The Booz Allen Classic.
Booz Allen Classic.
The Booz Allen Classic.
Very attractive golf player.
I think Ben Curtis won that tournament, and you know who tied second with me?
Who?
Your mate, Steve Stricker.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Comeback player of the year again.
Again, 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's right. But,
2 in a row. He had a win this week.
He did, and second major in a row. That was incredible.
Steve Stricker gets an unhealthy a lot of mentions on this podcast.
He does, doesn't he?
Way too many.
Yeah, it's probably my fault to begin with.
Yes, that's
but
right.
We've carried on with it. But back to your point, I think I found the week after a major, everything, especially a US Open or a PGA, everything seems so much easier. I got to that course and thought, well, this is easy compared to what I just played. So all of a sudden that relaxed me, and I found that I played really well the weeks after majors. Some tournaments I just knew teeing it up thinking, no, got no chance, but come to a course after a major and go, well, this is a piece of cake compared to what I just did. So
so there was no real surprise, was it? I mean, when and I know he's a 46-year-old club pro who's still pretty handy with the sticks, qualifies to get in, plays the 4 rounds of his life under pressure, probably went out on Sunday night and,
I hope so.
Had plenty of drinks with his mates and everybody else, and then to turn it around in, it's amazing how quick it goes, isn't it? I mean, if you've got a late tee time on Sunday and you've got an early tee time the next week on a Thursday, it barely feels like you've had 2 sleeps.
Yeah, 3 days.
And all of a sudden you're on the tee again.
No, indeed.
So,
and he said a couple of things. Again, I didn't follow it closely, but I heard him say a couple of things in the press. Thought, that might be a tough one, because he said something like, well, if I hit it as far as Rory, I'd be one of the best players in the world as well. I don't think that works. I mean, maybe karma might come back and bite you. Now, whether he said that or not, I'm not sure.
I think there's a few people talking about it, but anyway, I think he's going to get another start somewhere else. But I think the Michael Block show is over.
It is. Well, he's in Canada. The other thing, just going back the week before at Oak Hill, did you see Joel Damon's caddy? His name was Gino Bonali.
No.
Went out and played it on the Monday.
And?
Now, he's a scratch golfer.
Oh, okay.
Scratch. Good player.
Yes, and kept.
What do you think he shot? Past 70.
Okay, so he played properly.
Played it properly from the same
scratch golfer. Been caddying all week. Probably has a reasonable size ego. Watching his man go around. I'm going to say shot 85.
How did you know?
Oh, really?
You didn't know?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
I know it's a fluke.
It was quite the scorecard. He double bogeyed the first, then had 8 bogeys in a row.
Yeah.
Went out in 45.
Yeah, and came home strong.
Made his first par on 10 and shot 5 over the back. So he shot 85.
Yeah, and he's a good player.
A very good player apparently. So I remember years ago they actually did a reality show on it. Could a 5 handicapper break 100 at a US Open?
Yes.
And they got, I think at the time they got Michael Jordan playing. They might have got Tony Romo, who's a scratch.
They got a singer.
They got someone else.
Yeah.
And only one, I think it was Romo, shot 91, and then the rest couldn't break 100 on a US Open course.
Yeah.
They might have done it at Torrey Pines, I think.
Yeah,
years ago.
It's funny you say that, because we were on an Augusta trip. We went and played Torrey Pines not long beforehand, but they had the rough up crazy, and I shot 79 and I was doing cartwheels because the rough was at 1 foot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was stupid. And my 79 felt like a really nice day of play for me. But the people in our group, they'd lost thousands of balls between them. I don't think anyone broke 100. Yep. And they're all decent, they're all golfers because they want to go and see the Augusta. But they just couldn't believe the toughness. And then I think that was No, it wasn't Tiger. When did Tiger go ballistic? When did he win it? What year was that?
Torrey Pines?
Yeah.
That was 08.
08, yeah, so it was that year. It was 08, so it was before he won it. So no one could believe what they were doing. So Michael Block, done and dusted. But by the way, remember we were looking for the Nico Who's last week?
Yes.
Okay, so we had Francis We Met at number 1. We had you, Nico Who,
me at 5.
At number 5. Yep. Michael Block at number 4. But we had some feedback, okay? This is on the Michael Block's, such a great story. Matt Cleary, wasn't a good story. Seems like a good fella.
Yep.
Yeah. Good on you. Good on you, Matt. Thanks for having a listen. What did Chris Bartlett say?
Chris said, a great story. His interview when finding out he was paired with Rory, the look on his face like he was being had and or being set up. That was brilliant. That's years of being in a world with that kind of joke or prank environment ever present. The hole-in-one and asking Rory, where'd it go?
Yeah, it's amazing. It was amazing.
I thought he was joking when he said that, but apparently couldn't see it.
Iron Man Peter, he said, that's so good. Great to see. It was David White. Now, it's arguably the sporting moment thus far in 2023. Fantastic theatre. Sporting moment? No.
That's a big call.
Sporting moment. It's definitely the sporting moment for Nico Who's.
That's true.
But maybe not for for everything else. But good on you, Dave. Thanks so much for listening. And Joel Evans, love how he asked Rory if it went in. Yeah, so many people did.
That's great. Good feedback.
So many people did. It wasn't just Michael Block feedback. We had stacks of feedback on other things. In response to the PGA playing hardball with the live players, Cameron had something to say.
Yeah, Cam Doug Lassor. I wonder if that's anything to do with Ted Lasso, sort of. Anyway.
Or Cam Douglas AU, Australia.
How am I going? I need my glasses. I was thinking of Ted Lasso. I see the lasso.
I see what you were seeing. But go on.
Anyway, sorry, Cameron. I like all golf and aren't aligned to any tour, but the response from the PGA has bordered on pathetic and not what you would call strategic. Why not? The PGA have a team in live that players rotate through monthly. Give them all a crack at $4 million. How good?
Yeah, it sounds nice, but unfortunately, Cameron, that will never, ever happen.
In response to us saying the PGA was the best we've seen, I think that was more you, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it was me. It was the best I've ever seen. Marky Mark said this, agree the PGA Championship was the most interesting in recent memory. Was great to watch with so many stories unfolding. Yes, the stories were just ridiculous. There's one after another. Michael Block hole-in-one was the highlight. There's a question is that for me?
That's
Question
for
for
you.
me. This is from Paul R. Could you please tell me why certain golfers win the same tournaments multiple times but can't seem to win some of the other majors? I know the Open is played in a different country with very different conditions. The other majors are played in the US. Do you want to have a crack at answering that one, Nick?
Well, it was for you, but I can tell you now, majors are very, very hard golf tournaments to win, let alone regular tour events. And some players, the thing about majors is they're always on a different golf course, whereas most, except the Masters, in the men's game, different slightly on the women's side. But I think week in, year in, year out, if you play the same course, you get a feel for it. You kind of know what's going on. And some courses just fit your eye straight away.
I know Craig Parry used to always say that about Huntingdale. So did Peter Lonard. So did Peter Senior. Greg Norman obviously won it 1,000 times.
If I could have played Coolum every year, I would have won a boatload more.
I used to love Paraparan in New Zealand. Every time I went there, I just felt so comfy for some reason. I loved the people there. I loved everything about it. And you just play well. And a question for both of us is from Tom Hicks. Hi, Nick and Mark. A few episodes ago, you spoke of keeping your ball in divots in the fairway and not changing the current rules, saying that you need to be able to hit the ball out of a divot. Would you be able to do a masterclass about how to do this correctly? Thanks in advance, Tom. Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
But you've already quoted what you're doing this week.
I have, but I might leave that one to you because my wrist, because you got to dig down on a lot. I'll leave that one for you maybe next week.
Fantastic. We'll work it out, Tom. We'll definitely get there at some stage. That is for sure. A couple of callers after the break. Plus, we've got the masterclass. Plus, we've got our top 5, which we don't know what it is going to be yet. I'll see you on the 10th tee.
Like the podcast? Oh, maybe tell a friend. Drop them a text or share it on your socials. This is Talk Birdie with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
I'm standing on the 10th tee and I'm looking at you for the first time really today. What have you got the raccoon eyes for? You've been playing with the sunglasses on or something?
Yeah. I was out this morning, Royal Melbourne East.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a good, lot of fun. I was out there with a couple of mates, David Evans and Todd Woodbridge.
Oh, very good.
We had a nice rain. They had their own little match and I was doing my own thing out there. So it's a tough track, that Royal Melbourne East.
It is this time of year.
It is.
This time of year, it is a very difficult golf course. Did you play left or right-handed?
I played left, just the half set. I had evens today. I go odds or evens, but
because
I know where you're going.
Well, I want people to know about this because Nick O'Hearn plays left-handed, but you're going to register for a right-handed handicap.
Yes.
And you've got to register the name Nick O'Who. When you play right-handed, hopefully you're putting left-handed when you
No, I'm going to keep putting right-handed. Okay. No, I can't do that.
When you're actually playing right-handed, you've got to be registered Nick O'Who.
Yeah.
As your GA.
Well,
that'd be fantastic.
The idea came about because when I hurt my wrist, I couldn't play left. But when I hit balls right-handed, I couldn't feel anything, and I went out and played, and I thought, I'm playing okay here, and so I want to get a right-handed handicap. My goal is to get down to single figures.
What do you reckon it'll be first up?
Oh, well, I'm shooting low 80s right-handed already.
Oh, that's really annoying. That's just really,
I've got the putting
really annoying.
Chipping and putting are easy. It's the rest that I've got to work on.
Oh, God. Hey, this episode, we're going to have a couple of callers, which I'm really looking forward to. Last week we spoke about Michael Block, and we had Francis Ouimet as the number 1, Nick O'Who. You were number 5,
I was.
Nick O'Who. Then we had
Michael Block.
Michael Block was number 4. But Warwick has got in contact with us. He's an old pennant player from Cabramatta Golf Club in Sydney, and he reckons he can fill those 2 spots at 2 and 3. G'day, Warwick.
G'day, fellas. How are you?
Yeah, we're really well.
Going well.
What sort of a pennant player were you? Did you have a good record?
I only played for a few years. I played up to about 1973, and then I got married, and I didn't play all that much after that, to be honest with you. But yeah,
right.
It went all right.
Well, you sound like a very knowledgeable golf historian. You've just got that sort of voice now. You might have heard last week we had a couple of holes in our Nick O'Who top 5. Who have you got for us?
Well, 2 that I know of. One was a guy called Jack Fleck.
Oh, that's
who
a good one.
goes back a long while ago, 1955 in the US Open. He birdied the last hole to tie Ben Hogan, and then beat him by 3 shots in the playoff.
That is a great call. I love that
international one.
That is a beauty. I reckon I saw a few Jack Fleck sand irons when I was living in the States around the place. He had his own line as well. So he dined out and beaten Ben Hogan by 3 shots in the playoff. So he's in there for sure. And if you can fill the last spot, We've got to send something out. We might have to send you out a box of Titleist or something. Who have you got?
The other guy is a local guy, Bob Stanton.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Bob is...
Took Tom Watson down the stretch, didn't he?
Yeah, he played at St Michael's he did his apprenticeship at St Michael's under Dan Cullen. Yeah, as a 20-year-old, he beat Arnold Palmer to win the Dunlop International in 1966.
Was that at Yarra Yarra?
No, it was at the Australian, the old layout at the Australian.
Oh, wow.
I happened to be there. I happened to be there for that one, and it was sensational.
Incredible. Imagine that, 20-year-old, you're coming out. That's like a 20-year-old kid beating Tiger Woods.
Well, Arnold Palmer,
exactly.
mid-60s. I mean, he is the king.
He was Tiger Woods before Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods.
He sure was. It was amazing.
Oh, Warwick, I reckon that's our list. Francis Ouimet at number 1.
Beautiful.
Bob Stanton at number 2. Jack Fleck at number 3.
Oh, beautiful.
We'll put Bob up there because he's an Australian.
Oh,
I still
course,
talk to Bob from time to time. He's running fishing trips up north.
Is he really?
Yeah,
That's right, he does.
Yeah, he got out of the golf business because he had the best corporate golf business in Australia. Got out of that, sold that, and now he's doing fishing trips up north.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so what a
I'm
life.
aware of that.
What a life.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
For
we
sure.
had
Michael Block
at number 4 and Nico Hu at number 5. Just sensational. Hey, Warwick, thanks so much for getting in touch. We really appreciate it.
No worries at all. A pleasure.
So isn't that good? Warwick's done some homework for us. Now, he's done homework.
Yeah.
What about you? You've had homework for a couple of weeks. Have you reviewed this? What was the movie name again?
7 Days in Utopia.
Have you had a look?
And you will be pleased to know I've watched it again. I watched it on YouTube because I couldn't find it anywhere else. And for the first 2/3 of the movie, I thought, I'm on the money here. This was actually really good.
Yeah.
And then it got worse.
Oh, no.
It just kind of really petered out. I think the thing that really left something in my memory about it was the actor Lucas Black, I think his name was, has the best golf swing for an actor I've seen.
Oh, really?
It is pure. It's like looking at a
Pure.
pro. Didn't have to do much to him. And Robert Duvall, he was a bit of a golf whisperer, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And it just got a bit kind of...
He's a bit like Beggar Vance.
It was a bit syrupy at the end, yeah. So, but overall, not a bad one to watch and some, good little takeaways.
Hey, your caddy Wilbur had a great story regarding Jack Nicklaus last week. I told my Raymond Floyd story, and we asked for our listeners to give some more stories. So Aaron has made contact with us from Kerr Lewis Golf Club, and he's got a ripping story he tells us. G'day, Az.
Oh, g'day, Marco. G'day, Nick. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Righto. So where does this story start?
Well, it was a few years ago, back in about 2012. I was actually living in Dubai at the time and just started really getting into my golf and was a member at the Emirates Golf Club there. And my brother was getting married in Noosa. And so my wife was pregnant with our first child at the time, and I decided I'll fly back to Noosa for the wedding. And anyway, the day before the wedding, he'd had a golf day booked at Taunton up there on Sunshine Coast. And anyway, so I get to the golf course, and I was pretty keen on the golf at the time. And so I rock up, and Jack Newton was there.
Nice.
Yeah, my brother's wife's family are friends with the Newtons. And anyway, he said, "Oh, Aaron, you're going to be playing with Jack." Oh. So I thought, this is pretty good. And next thing he said, "You're actually going to share a cart with Jack."
Oh my God.
So I spent the next 4 hours playing with Jack, and Jack was giving me all sorts of stories about his time on the tour and commentating, and gave me a few golf tips in there as well, and just had a great time with him. And he was going around okay, but on one of the par fives, he's knocked it up there with a driver off the deck in 2, and then holed about a 60-footer for eagle. So.
And it is just ridiculous,
it was a great
isn't it?
time. Yeah, and then we just spent a few hours with Jack holding court with all the boys at the clubhouse afterwards, and then I happened to be on his table the next night at the wedding as well, so it was just fantastic.
Ridiculous.
How good. He was one of the legends of Australian golf.
Humble. He was. I remember at Huntingdale again, I was a little kid. I went down and watched him on the old driving range, Aaron, and back in those days, your caddy used to have to go and fox the balls. So the driving range was full of players, players' caddies. So Jack just went over to the right and just started going over these trees onto the 18th fairway, which was right next to the driving range. But what I couldn't believe, he had this beautiful, short, compact golf swing. It was so strong, Jack Newton. And he was hitting these shots, and no matter what iron he hit, it looked like it was going to hit the top of the trees, and then the old Bellata ball would just climb. And I felt like every single shot, no matter what iron he was hitting, got over the trees by about 6 feet. I was just mesmerised as a little kid. And then I stole his Titleist visor. He wouldn't believe it. He took off and the Titleist visor fell on the ground and I just walked out and grabbed it.
Oh, okay.
I was a little kid. Yeah, I was a little kid.
Oh,
Hey, Aaron,
brilliant.
great story, mate. He's a great Australian and we've got nothing but wonderful memories of Jack Newton.
Thanks, guys. Love the show.
Good on you, Aaron. And so many of our listeners, if you do want to make contact with us, just get on our socials and Dan will put you on. If you've got a great story, if you've got something to contribute to the program, I quite like talking to the people who listen to the podcast.
Yeah,
it is great fun.
You can't beat a good golf story, can you? But
Have you found something? You're circling away over there?
I did, yeah. I saw on our sheet here on the feedback, on the Nico Who discussion, because we did the top 5. Let me see if I can get this one right. Ipswich Celtic.
Right.
From Brisbane West. Great show, guys. My Nico Who is Russell Clayton. You remember him?
Yeah,
Russell
I do.
Clayton.
Big English amateur at
Way
the
back,
time.
Aussie Masters, big English guy, had a great week. Think he won, came from nowhere, not sure what became of him.
Don't reckon he won. I reckon he came second, and I'll always remember him. He had one of these players with a double overlap grip.
Yep.
Can you think of 2 others?
Ooh.
Now, there's one who
Did Ronan Rafferty have one?
Ronan Rafferty, no, he had the 10-finger grip.
He had the 10-finger,
He had
that's
a
what I was
10-finger
thinking.
grip.
Okay.
But there was a bloke, I'll give you some clues.
Okay.
He won 1 major, beat an Australian to do it. He lives in Hawaii and probably made more money than his golf swing you'd ever think his golf swing would let him make.
Wow. Steve Jones?
Jim Furyk.
Jim Furyk.
Jim Furyk, double overlap.
Okay.
And if you...
Does he live in Hawaii? No, he's in...
Hawaii. Apparently,
Really?
yeah, got one of the most beautiful pads in the whole world in Hawaii. And another one, if you listen back, if you love your Australian golf, an old golfer called Bob Shaw. Big Bob Shaw used to hit the ball a million miles, had a double overlap grip. So they're the only ones I can think of with double overlaps.
Yeah,
Bob Shaw, Jim Furyk, and Russell Clayton. If you can think of any more, jump on, let us know, because the double overlap is prevalent. Time for the top 5. All right, time for the top 5. And what are we doing? We're going
to do top 5 caddy nicknames.
Righto.
I think we spoke about this a while back, didn't we, Dan?
okay.
And it's time for it.
I've got one.
Okay.
I've got one. Just make room for me in there somewhere.
I'll
do the rest.
pitch in. We're just going to... Okay, number 5, a guy who caddied many, many years on the European Tour, caddied for Ian Woosnam, Jose Olazabal, Wobbly. I don't actually know his real name.
No one
just know
does.
him.
No one.
I just know him as
Nobody
Wobbly.
does. No, not one person
Wobbled
does.
around the golf course.
Was he a
that's
big
right.
unit or?
No, just loveliest guy. He probably wobbled home from the bar quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
So, one of those type guys.
Anyway.
Another guy on the European Tour, Seagull, because he used to love, hanging shit on people.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Can I go next?
Yeah, go for it.
All right,
Go on.
so I just slot my one in there. There was a caddy on tour, and unfortunately he had this great big lump on his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
His player had a very, very good European Tour. They used to have a big break, and all the caddies used to call him Lumpy. He used to break his heart. So he won all this money, or his player won all this money. He ended up with a lot of cash. He had an operation to get rid of it. He turns up in February, first tournament of the year, gets into the caddy room and goes, "Hey, boys," and took his head off. He goes, "You can't call me Lumpy anymore." And one of the boys yelled out and said, "Hey, lads, let's look who it is. It's Lumpless." And he was known as Lumpless from that movie. And he lives in Melbourne these days. So Lumpless, if you're living, we love you.
Lumpless.
Lumpless.
There was another Lumpy on tour, Tim Herron, the player, over in the States. But
Number 2?
That's really good, really good. American caddy, again, can't remember his name. They nicknamed him Asbestos because he never lost his job over there. He was fireproof. He never got sacked. It was unbelievable. But number 1, an Aussie guy named Phil, who I do know his name, Phil, used to caddy over in Europe many years ago when I was starting out over there. They called him Cornflake because he looked like a serial killer.
There we go. There we go. There we go. There.
What about your caddies? Do you have any nicknames for yours over the years? I mean, I had Wilbur, James Williams, but he was Wilbur.
No, my caddies were pretty simple. It was Con, Tommy.
Okay.
Drew Dublin. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, he's a policeman these days.
Is he?
Yeah, up north in Perth. G'day, Drew, if you happen to be listening.
Fantastic.
Unless you're putting somebody under arrest these days, so maybe something else. Hey, you got some quick results for us?
Yeah, let's go through a couple. LPGA had a match play event in Vegas at Shadow Creek.
Yes.
We only had 2 Aussies in there. Karis Davison actually played pretty well, but she beat the eventual winner. I got to get this name right. Thailand's Pajari Ananarukan.
Yes.
Ananarukan beat Furue, who's a Japanese player, in the final.
Done well.
I've done well there, haven't I?
You've done really well.
But Karis beat Ananarukan.
That's right.
In the round robin.
That's
and
right.
then they had to go into the match play.
How good?
I know. And unfortunately, Davidson got beat.
I know, because I love the round robin in these
You love
matches.
the round robin,
I think it's good. I think it gives everyone a chance.
Karis is not happy with the round robin right
That's
now.
That's right. She could be winning.
Advanced.
Yeah. Yes,
so,
and by the way, the big winner that week, I want to play that Shadow Creek.
Yeah, it looks
It's
good,
in the
doesn't
middle of a desert, and it looks like an oasis.
It's incredible.
Incredible. Yeah. Have you played it?
No, I never have.
Oh,
no.
It looks amazing. I couldn't stop watching that tournament because I just wanted to see one hole to the next.
And it was rock hard too.
Yeah.
Greens were firm.
Yeah.
We had Sarah Kemp there, but she didn't advance either. So I guess Minji and Hannah were taking the weeks off. But Live Golf, for all our Live listeners out there, Lenny will be happy. Washington, D.C., Harold Varner III got his first win. They actually, and you know who played?
Who?
Wade Ormsby got a
start. Good on you, Wade.
They had about 3 WDs. The last round, they were dropping like flies.
Right.
Wade got a start to come in and fill in for someone. Might have been Thomas
Did Brooks
Peters.
play?
Yeah, he played, but not very well.
Not very well.
Out of the Aussies, Cam Smith was best, 11th. And
Did you see where the
rest
Rippers
of the guys
finished?
were back. Not good.
Second last.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Tough week for the Rippers.
What are those goat rangers, Nick?
Yeah,
The Goat Rangers, they finished third. They're going well. They've been going really well.
Well, they're in the money.
Team Talk won. And Stingers came second if you follow it. Yep. So, as I said, Lenny will be happy there.
Excuse me. Can I just interject, please? I saw a tweet last week suggesting that one of these teams should be worth around $2 billion US.
I heard that.
I almost fell over.
But I think it
couldn't possibly be right.
No, I think it was a made-up account or something, wasn't it?
And then the tweet
Nike.
actually,
It was Nike.
it was Nike. We're going to spend $2 billion on a team. Then it was actually showing some of the US teams that they'd be worth more than, and I'm thinking, come
Texas Rangers, probably the Yankees and all this sort of stuff. It was ridiculous. I think it was one of these live accounts that like to just sort of
push it along,
push the line a little bit. Yeah, exactly. But they got 2 weeks off now till the US Open, the live players, and then there's another 2 weeks off till their next event. So it's kind of a weird schedule they got going
Sergio qualified last week?
He did.
Yeah, just after our program, our recording time last week. So good on you, Sergio, for actually making the effort to go and qualify for the US Open. I reckon that is fantastic.
Just a couple other solid Aussie events. Dimmy finished tied 10th on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Nice.
Knoxville Open, that keeps him up in around that top 30 on the money list. And Gabby Ruffles tied 13th. She's still number 1 on the Epsom Tour money list as well.
So she's got to go
in her event. So that was good. We got Memorial coming up this week on the PGA Tour. I love that golf tournament.
Oh, well, you've got to tell me about it now. Before we've got a masterclass. Just give me your thoughts, because I know Paul Sheen, when Paul Sheen won the Japan Open way back when, he got an invitation to the Memorial, he came back and I just said, mate, what's that course like? And he said, it's the best golf course I can ever imagine playing. So what did you think?
I loved it. Yeah, my first year there, I had one of the weeks, really good week, and I got to spend a bit of time with Jack. And I'll tell that story next week.
Did you have one of those milkshakes?
Oh, yeah.
What are they like?
Fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
Put whatever you want in them. Snickers, Mars bars, the whole works.
Righto. Are we going to do a masterclass on the Schenk chip?
We need to.
Right, let's get to it.
That sounds wrong, doesn't it? The Schenk chip.
Well, it's funny.
We had the short softy. Now we got the Schenk chip.
They were saying Schenk, weren't they? But it sounded like how we say Schenk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it's very strange over there. What if you say your name's Craig, it comes out as what?
Greg.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
When I used to say my name is Mark, everyone thought I was Mike. I go, "G'day, I'm Mark," and they go, "Oh, g'day, Mike. How are you?" Couldn't believe it. Well, they call. They would have.
Well, I
what'd they
always
do
said,
to you?
I'm Nick O'Hearn, and they'd always say, "Oh, hi, Nico." They thought my last name was Hearn.
Yeah.
Nico Hearn. I'm like, no, I'm not Portuguese, mate. It's all good. I'm Australian.
All right, how do you hit these little? It's a little bit different to the short softy,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, it's all in the setup, really. It was a downhill chip off a very steep slope. It was in the rough. Whether you're in the rough or not doesn't really matter. But downhill chip shots, I see this a lot with all the golfers out there, where they don't widen their stance enough. They just take a normal setup with their feet quite close together. And because they're close together, they then can't get their weight going with the slope. So what they tend to do is lean back. Now, if you got your weight on your back foot on a downhill chip
You're
shot,
in trouble.
you're either going to scull it or you're going to fat it.
You're in trouble before
So
you
the
start.
key is to widen your stance wider than you would ever imagine, almost driver width, okay? We're talking really wide, and then lean all your weight into your front leg, into your left leg if you're a right-hander. So now your lower half is very stable, and you really aligned yourself with the slope. Then from there, it's just upper body motion, swing down with the slope. Don't try and lift the ball up. Take as much loft as you want off there and let the club do the work for you. If you watch Schenk in the playoff, he played a little bump and run, but he had a lob wedge in his hand. But that's just the way he had to play that shot. So all in the setup. I'll put it out on socials later, a little video on how to do that, because that's a very important shot around the golf courses, because you always get downhill lies, and that's one of the toughest.
All right, Nico Hearn.
Mike, great chat.
I'll see you next week.
Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen's podcast, Talk Birdie to Me, live from the Australian Golf Centre, home of the PGA of Australia and Golf Australia. Big thanks to Talk Birdie to Me listeners Aaron from Curlewis and Warwick from Sydney for calling into the show today. You want to chat to Nick and Mark? Easy. Comment on the socials and you're half a shot. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media. Sound design by Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.
Hey, you losing weight or what? What's going on?
No, I'm not. Well,
You look thin.
no, trust me. I'm not. I need
Or
to do
thinner.
more walking. Well, had a little bit of a diet change at home.
Not again.
I did the juice cleanse last time. No, I did all that. That
stuff
wasn't me.
again.
My wife, she's looking into some different, alternative options, and we're just sampling a little no carb keto style diet. And
What's keto?
well, you don't eat any carbohydrates basically, and that's protein and high fat. So, which is really weird. A lot of fats, which is hard to get your head around. But the thing that kills me in the morning is I love my peanut butter on toast. I need my toast, and I'm kind of making up some alternative
You're
options.
going to have to fix this situation.
I tell you, it's tough. But you know what I can do? I can still drink red wine, and I'm happy about that. Oh, I don't know.
What's
I'm always searching. It's like, as a golfer, you're always trying to improve.